That's not what I'm talking about.
That's not.
I'm talking about don't
no.
talk about my insert whatever issue you have in front of everybody at Thanksgiving.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Don't talk about my ingrown pubic hair that I told you about in confidence. Hi, I'm Kyle, a tired therapist.
And I'm Jackie, also a tired therapist.
And together, we are two tired therapists.
Welcome to the pod. Well, kids.
Well, happy November.
Yeah, happy November. It's the month of no. Did you see this on social media?
No, not November?
Yeah, not November.
Oh, so sorry.
No, there was a meme going around. Oh, I shouldn't call it a meme. A thing going around. I saw it on a bunch of people's stories like within the last couple of weeks. We're not recording in November, by the way. This is like, well,
No,
it is November, but
yeah.
it's early November.
It's a little late. Normally we're on top of things. This is a little last minute. We don't have to talk about it.
It's fine.
Let's move on.
But it was like, it's November now. You need to say no. Say no to more things this month that like drain your energy, your time, and your like healing space or what. I don't remember what it said. It was some shit like that.
Probably should do that.
I mean, it's kind of on brand for this episode, I guess, but
yeah, that works really well. But maybe we should try that in other months too.
Sure.
Maybe
all year round thing.
We'll
not just a November. It literally was like highlighted like the no.
I have
I'm gonna have to find it and show
the
it
only
to
thing
you.
I've heard of No Nut November. I've heard of that,
God.
and then like there is something with November, like something about there's some kind of male. Is it male? Some kind of male cancer awareness.
Prostate awareness month.
Oh, okay.
You know how I know this.
Maybe that's where No Nut November comes
it's
from.
in The Office.
Oh, okay. Anyways.
It's like you don't shave for the month of November.
Yeah,
I guess.
no shave
Yeah,
November. Yeah. That's what I was thinking too.
Anyways.
It always men. Why?
I don't know.
Why do we have to do this?
We don't know. We have no idea.
We have no idea. Let's move on.
Can't be me. Anyways,
let's move on.
Let's chit chat about our what's tired, but we'll do Thanksgiving because this is gonna come out around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and we're not really doing a Thanksgiving episode,
No.
so let's do something. Would
do you want me to go first?
Sure. I'm curious.
I'm tired of cranberry sauce. Controversial yet brave of me to.
I feel like you said this last year.
I think I probably
We'll have to go back in the vault.
Yeah.
And see.
I cannot with I think it
is
especially when you leave it in the
gross.
can and like it's in the shape of the can.
Yeah.
Or you like. I can't. It makes me want to puke.
Do you think real cranberries would you be okay with?
Probably. I've actually probably maybe had it maybe once or twice in my life, and I've never. It's always been in the can form. I've never actually had like.
Do people just eat it, or do they like put it on something?
I think you're supposed to put it on stuff. Maybe I don't know.
Thanksgiving food is not really.
It's not like jelly. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know.
No.
It's
I'm
tired
a sauce.
of it.
It's supposed to be cranberry sauce, right?
But it's always in the. But I'm telling you, it's always that jelly can with the can.
It's got the ridges in it and everything.
Yeah, that makes me want to throw up. It's like candy corn, and you know what?
Oh,
we're gonna put.
I'm so glad you brought that up. We have. Thank you so much, listeners, because we have several of you to put on blast about candy corn.
Starting with
number one fan,
person number one, Greg.
Right,
you're canceled.
Right. Undesirable number one, Greg.
Second is my mother-in-law, Katie. She also loves candy corn. Canceled.
Oh no. Greg and Katie, so sorry. I can't believe that.
Wax. It's just wax.
Well, so my friend Joan. Hi, Joan.
Hi, Joan.
She tried to put me on blast, and she said, she listened to the episode. She goes, I enjoy candy corn mixed with dry roasted peanuts. Candy corn is basically nougat, not wax. Damn it! It's pretty much corn syrup and food coloring. Don't hate on old people treats because remember, you are old people. And I said, "You're old." And then she said,
"Greg likes it."
Right. And then she said, "You don't even like chocolate, so you can shut your whore mouth." And I was like, "Well, you're right."
I don't like chocolate either.
Exactly.
So,
and then we also had another listener. Let me pull that. Abby. Thank you, Abby, for messaging us. She said, "You mentioned how you are famously tired of candy corn, and never see anyone buy or like it. Well, I am one of those weirdos that especially likes it for some reason. I will eat through multiple bags each year if I allow myself to buy them. Yes, they are a little sugar, but a bitch really likes her carbs."
Doesn't it hurt your tummy? Oh, God.
Doesn't it hurt your soul?
Well, that too, but I'm just thinking if you would eat that much, it would hurt.
So,
it hurts my teeth. I mean, like, I don't.
Just the sound, like to think of the sound of them rubbing together, just gives me the creeps. So you are all canceled.
Yes.
Thanks so much. Goodbye. We'll see you next year when you try to convince us that candy corn is okay.
We'll probably still be tired of it by next year anyway.
Absolutely.
So it's fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that, I mean, for the Thanksgiving version of this cranberry sauce, for me, especially the shit in the can, it's a no for me.
It's a no for you. Absolutely.
It's a no. So that's my tired. But what are you?
Very good.
What are you tired of?
So for mine, I don't know. This one's, it's just more annoying. I don't really have anyone in my life who I experience this with, but I hear other people talking about it. But people who would call like Thanksgiving, like, that's my holiday. Like, they host and they have everyone over, and if you don't come, it's like sacrilegious, like you're canceled and out of the family. I just don't get that. I don't get that idea of like, then you have to come, you have to be dressed up, and you have to, no. We don't do that.
No.
It's fine. Half the time, my grandma's doing it on the 12th this year because she just wants everybody there. So she's like, I know if I do it like 2 weeks before, none of you have an excuse. So you're going to be there. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know. People that are like, that's my holiday. It's too much.
It's just
it's too much.
I mean, we just put I don't know. Some people get really like, I feel the same way kind of a little bit about people with their birthdays. They're like, it's my day. And I'm like, it's literally just a day. What if you were born like on a different day?
Right.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's the same thing to me. It's just a day.
Yeah.
I mean, we just put a lot of emphasis on it.
Yeah.
But
and
we won't talk about
really, we're not supposed to celebrate it, right?
The genocidal context of Thanksgiving. It's fine. We won't talk about that.
It's fine. White people. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I don't know.
What are you going to do? Anyways,
well, since this is sort of on theme with the holidays and they're rapidly approaching, look out, shields up, as my mom would say. Well, let's talk about boundaries.
Let's talk about boundaries.
We haven't on boundaries.
This is like the core of like therapy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, and you and I are gonna have to have a discussion because I didn't write like a whole thing about treatment or like what it looks like in treatment.
Sure.
But we can.
Yeah.
We're gonna. I'm gonna link a ton of stuff in the show notes for people if they really, including a worksheet if they really want to work on this. I know. There's actually a lot. Most of it's from Psychology Today.
Which is a whole. So that might be problematic.
Right. So I tried to find stuff that wasn't Psychology Today. Actually, a couple of the articles were pretty good from Psychology Today. So anyways, boundaries. What are they? You ready? You know what they are.
I know what they are.
For you listening. Okay, so this is from Psychology Today. Boundaries are where you draw the line between yourself and others is how they defined it. So I say you can think of it like a fence where it's a way to protect yourself and keep people out if you need to. I don't know about you. I don't know what your experience is. I worked in a very different setting where I did a lot of boundary work versus like traditional outpatient therapy like you do. But people say they hate boundaries. There's a lot of people who are like, I don't like it when somebody tells me no. I will tell stories. It's fine. But they're good for everyone. I tell everybody, I'm like, everybody hates boundaries, but they're good. They're so good for everybody.
I don't think everyone hates boundaries.
I think a lot.
I think certain people do who may or may not have personality yes. Typically people with personality disorders don't like boundaries. Maybe are you saying people don't like to enforce boundaries? Is that what they're uncomfortable?
I'm just saying boundaries in general, but yes, I would say enforcing them, which I'll talk about. And then people don't like to. There are some people who just don't really respect that kind of a thing. So
that's true.
And I'm not saying like don't wear a green. Like I'm not saying a boundary is like don't wear a green shirt because green upsets me. Like that's not what I'm talking about.
That's not.
I'm talking about don't talk about my insert whatever issue you have in front of everybody at Thanksgiving.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
Don't talk about my ingrown pubic hair that I told you about in confidence.
Right. Don't post that on your Instagram story. That's what I'm talking about. But.
Or like don't disrespect me, like don't treat me like shit. Yes. So but if you've ever been to therapy or in therapy, you've probably done boundary work even if your therapist didn't call it that. You've done it.
So what's an unhealthy boundary? And I'm straight up lifting this from this article that I will 100% put in our show notes, but unhealthy boundaries can sometimes feel like others are taking advantage of you or your time. If you find that you're overextending yourself in your relationships, overcommitting your time to others, and having little time for yourself, it may signal a lack of boundaries. Unhealthy boundaries can also look like having a hard time saying no to others, putting others' needs and wants before your own, taking on others' problems or responsibilities as your own, or feeling exhausted or burnt out by overwhelming commitments. If these sound like they hit for home for you, it may be time to start practicing setting healthy boundaries in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think
Retweet.
What people don't get about boundaries is that there isn't a one size fit all with a boundary.
No.
You know, there are different types of boundaries, which you might get into a little later, but like there is no such thing as like for example, there's something like there's rigid boundaries where like it's unmovable and it just is what it is. It's that hard no. Now, do you want to use that with everybody? No.
Yeah.
But there are some people that you probably do need a rigid boundary with. And, and that's okay.
Yeah. And you can have different boundaries for different people.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll talk about, according to this article, there's 5 ways to create and maintain them.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm
you
interested.
and I will chilly chat if we agree or like what's
We'll destroy them if we need to.
They're actually not terrible.
Oh, good.
So the first one is identify your limits.
Yeah.
Figure out what you are or not willing to tolerate. And
Absolutely.
those are your limits.
Absolutely.
So yeah, if you've got a problem with somebody, you got to be like, what is my actual problem? Is it their face?
Yes.
No, it's their crappy talk to me.
Right. No,
right.
A boundary, I always say, should be connected to a need. So a boundary should fulfill a need for you because a boundary is about you, not the other person.
Yes.
So boundary has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with you.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number 1. Number 2 is clearly communicate what they are. And I'd say this is probably the most important one because people don't know that they've crossed it unless you've said something. Yeah. And this is where a lot of people they don't want to have that conflict, or they don't want to be like, I don't want, don't talk about my personal life to Grandma Jean or whatever. Right. Like, if you don't tell them that and then your parent goes up to Grandma Jean and says, oh my God, did you hear about that? Like, they don't know. I mean,
you have to
whether that's appropriate for them to do or not, it's a different thing. But you didn't tell them.
You have to assume that everyone is stupid and doesn't know. So, but not that you have to over explain. You can just say, hey, I would appreciate if you don't tell Grandma Jean about my ingrown pubic hairs. If you do.
Could you imagine? I bet this has happened to somebody. I'm so sorry
I'm sure.
This happened to you.
No, but this is great. Now they know what to do.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, and then add like a consequence, right? Like if you go past this boundary, then I will not talk to you, or I will not come help you on Thursdays, clean your gutters, or whatever it is.
Yes. You've actually said one of the future ones.
Good.
So that was number 2. Clearly communicate what they are. Number 3 is practice what you want to say.
Yeah.
You have to practice.
Yeah. Write it down.
If you don't practice. Even once out loud. I hate practicing what I'm going to say out loud. I just feel like a dummy for doing it. But so I usually do it one time and that's it. But if you write it down maybe, or if you like write a little script for yourself, that might be helpful too.
Yeah. Because I think in the moment, especially if you're doing this with someone who doesn't respect boundaries very well.
Yeah.
And you start saying like, I want.
Yeah. I'll tell.
And they'll be like, oh, what do you want? What do you want?
Yeah.
And then you'll be like, nothing. Never mind.
Yeah. If you even a little bit waver or like backtrack, it's going to go south for you, especially if it's somebody who really does push over your wants and needs. Yeah. It's going to go poorly. Number 4, Kyle already said it, but avoid over apologizing and over explaining. And this might be the hardest one because people tend to feel bad when they tell another person they don't like something. Yeah. But you're creating a healthy habit for yourself. Right. Is what I wrote. And telling someone a boundary isn't rude or mean, but it does feel that way if you're trying to get a behavior or something to stop.
Correct. And I think too, the other person or people don't have to understand the boundary. No. So sometimes you'll say, well, I don't want you to call me on Tuesdays. And they'll be like, well, that's the best day for me to call you. Why not? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I asked you not to call me on Tuesdays. Yeah. So you don't have to understand a boundary to respect it.
No.
Put that on a pillow.
You should cross-stitch that bitch in there. All right. And last one, number 5, is be consistent with your boundaries. If you are not consistent, you are teaching the person that they can cross them or do other things in order to, I guess go over your stuff, which I have lots of stories.
That's what I tell people. That's what I think is the hardest part about a boundary. Typically people know what boundary they need. That's usually not that hard. Yeah. But the thing is that whatever boundary you are setting up, you have to follow too. Yeah. It's not just them, it's you. So if you say, don't call me on Tuesdays, and that person calls you.
And then you pick up.
you have lost all credibility. It's kind of like it's like training a dog or a child. Like
Yeah.
as soon as you don't follow through, right? Like if you say, I'm going to beat you if you blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
Come in the kitchen, and they come in the kitchen and you don't beat them. Not that we're condoning beating your children, but if you don't follow through on the punishment, you have lost your credibility.
We are not a parenting podcast.
We are not a parenting podcast. We're actually,
consideration.
side note, we're considered health and fitness on Spotify. So
fancy.
not sure about that one, but we are not a parenting podcast. But yes, you have to follow through on the boundary. So don't set a boundary you're not ready to enforce, because that's not going to work.
I got some stories.
I would love to hear them.
Stories
well, most of mine.
Yours are probably more. You probably have the actual practical application. I could talk about me and all the things I used to do.
I mean, a lot of my, in outpatient, you're getting like dealing with family, mostly family. I'll say mostly family. Maybe some friendships and some relationships, like romantic relationships, but a lot are family, especially in-laws and parents of like couples, especially young couples. That tends to be a big one. And it's this idea of like, no, grandma, you can't just show up whenever you want to see the kids, and you can't just pop in. And
as Queen of Reddit, I did not pull any Reddit stories.
That's
this,
great.
But I will tell you the majority of like on the relationship advice that I'm on is in-law stuff. It's usually unfortunately mother-in-laws. But it's like my mother-in-law, blah 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 blah, or like my sister-in-law. It's usually the female. Members. It's not usually male family members, but
unless they're just connected, usually.
Yeah. So anyways, so here I can give an example, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll talk a little bit more about stuff. So when I did my time in prison, this is like the number one thing.
Working in prison,
working in prison,
not your own time. You weren't my own time. You weren't in
we
prison.
Can't talk about that. Anyways, this was like the biggest thing. This was the biggest thing that we did with everyone, because I mean, I don't want to like generalize it, but a lot of incarcerated people don't they didn't learn the things growing up that they needed to learn. Like they didn't learn, not all of them, but a good majority of them did not learn like social norms and all these things.
Right.
So
boundaries are learned.
Yes.
For
so
sure.
like, especially the word no is a problem. We used to tell them no is a complete sentence. I had to say that a lot.
Yep.
So I had I have a few. I'll give two stories. So I had one incarcerated person who self-harmed. I will spare everyone the self-harm, but suffice to say he would insert things into himself. And I told him if anytime he did this, he would go on suicide watch, because he wouldn't like necessarily hurt himself every time, but like, I mean, at a certain point he had to go to the hospital, was the whole thing anyways. So he thought I was joking. And I said, anytime you do a self-harm, I was like, I will put you on suicide watch. And he was like, no. He's like, you're lying. He's like, you're lying. I'm like, no, I'm not. I think he took a pencil and like scratched his wrist. I mean, literally, like no blood was shed. And I put him on suicide watch. And he was like, I can't believe you just did that to me. And I was like, well, I told you anytime you do anything. Right. And it was little and stupid. And would I put somebody else on it? No. But if I had not done that, then he would have escalated and escalated and escalated.
You
like
would
we
have
said,
lost.
It's that if you have to be consistent with it.
Absolutely.
I mean, he's the definition of borderline personality disorder.
Right.
And then another one, I had another incarcerated person who in our facility, they had privileges and phases. And so he wanted to increase his phases and privileges. But he was also being a total jerk to everyone except for me and a couple people. And so the treatment team was like, no, we're not going to give him more privileges. So when you're the therapist, you get to deliver these fun news to these people. And so I had to tell him, and he was not pleased, not with me, just not pleased. And so then every time I had a session for him the next month, that's all he talked about. And so I finally was like, listen, you don't shut the fuck up about your phases. Like, I will leave session if you bring it up, because it's not going to change for at least 4 weeks. Right. And sure enough, next time I went for a session, guess who? First thing I was, and I was like, bye.
Goodbye.
And I just walked out.
Yep.
I just walked out. And he was like, he was banging on the windows. And I'm like, nope. I'm like, I already told you it's not going to change for 4 weeks. So use your time with me better than to complain about your phases. I had to do that twice, actually, 2 times in a row. And then the third time, we got somewhere. But that's how you do it.
Absolutely. And that's how you do it. No, I think those are perfect examples, because they show that like you put the boundary out there, and like with the first guy, even though he didn't like self-harm technically, he was testing you. And you have to follow through, or then the next time you would have had no credibility. So yeah, I think those are perfect examples of everything that we mentioned.
It's just, well, let's take a break.
Yeah.
We can continue this chilly chat.
Yes.
And maybe we can talk about how boundaries would look in therapy or how you would do that work with a therapist.
Absolutely.
We will be right back. We are back.
We're back.
So boundaries.
Boundary
work in therapy. So Kyle, what might a therapist who's trying to teach their client boundaries do, since you're the practicing therapist?
Well, I mean, of course it's figuring out like we talked about, like what's the need? Like what boundary do you need? And I mean, there is such a thing as an appropriate and not appropriate, right? Like you not wearing green because I don't like it. That's not a reasonable boundary.
Yeah, that's stupid.
So it is starting there. A lot of it does take like practicing and really educating that boundaries are actually good. Like you said, like, boundaries are not bad. They might be uncomfortable, especially if you are someone who just doesn't have great self-esteem or tends to be a people pleaser. That can feel very hard to put that boundary out there.
Yeah.
So I always just teach them that it is good, that it's for you, that it's not for the other person.
Right.
And just the education on like, okay, well, here's what's going to happen, especially if it's somebody that I suspect in their life has a personality disorder, that I always tell them the behavior is going to get worse.
Yes,
so
it is.
You don't want sorry to any mother-in-laws out there, but you don't want your mother-in-law coming over at any time. When you tell her that you don't want her to come over, she's going to throw a tantrum, essentially. And that may look any type of way, but the tantrum, just like with a child, is to get their way.
Yeah.
So you have to be, and again, that's why it's hardest to stick to the boundary, because the tantrum is going to push you to feel guilty or uncomfortable to where you go, okay, never mind, it's fine, come over whenever you want.
Yeah.
It's basically control.
Yeah.
It's basically a thing of control.
There's a whole, I can't remember all the terms for. I used to know all of them, so I was trying to Google, but I can't find them. But there's like, the oh my God, the behavior, that's like a stroke right there. The behavior will increase, and it's going to it's going to escalate, basically.
Absolutely.
There's terms
because
for
they don't want the boundary.
Yeah. DBT is really good for this kind of thing, because it really teaches you, like, that's how we used to teach at the prison, was like, especially the dear man skill of like, describe, explain, be assertive, like reinforce what you want, and like be appropriate about it. Don't be like, bitch, you better give me my sack or I'm gonna punch you in the head.
Not
like,
right. Nope, that's not a boundary. Nope.
No.
It's called aggression.
That's something somebody said to me, and I'm like, I don't even do anything with your food. So
So,
but DBT is really good for this. But you're gonna get an escalation of behaviors.
Absolutely.
Before I think extinction is like the actual phrase where it's like it goes away forever.
But just like you said with your example of like the first time, right? Like it was we talked about it, and then the second time he talked about it, and then the third time like he stopped because the boundary was there. So
the other thing you can do, I guess, if you're like, you don't just want to get up and leave,
that's
is to be like, this is your warning.
Yeah.
Like, I'm telling you the next time it comes out of your mouth, which is what I did on the second time in that one. And I was like, if it comes out of your mouth again, I'm going to leave. But you have to do it. Like, you have to actually get your ass up out of the chair and go.
Exactly. And that's, again, don't put a boundary down you're not comfortable.
Right.
But it doesn't have to be complicated, right? Like, if it's just, hey, I don't like when you are disrespectful to me. Right. Please don't do that. If you do, I'm going to leave, or I'm going to hang up the phone. And if they do it, then you leave or you hang up. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be this whole like thing.
Well, and if you're the other thing you can do, I guess, if you really don't want to, like, if your situation is so bad that you don't want to like tell the person the boundary, is you tell yourself what it is. So it's like, I have to go to Thanksgiving dinner with my family. They all hate me. They all whatever. I'm going to leave at 8 p.m. No matter what. And then when that clock hits 8 p.m., you're like, I got to go. Sorry, bye. And you leave. Like, you don't have to necessarily, like, if you don't want to go through a whole rigmarole with your family, which I can understand for some people it's not fun, but
and there are different types of boundaries, and maybe this has been updated since I've looked up, but we talked about rigid boundaries. So we don't necessarily want rigid boundaries, which is like, I'm not going to let anyone call me on Tuesday. Well, that's probably not realistic.
Right.
So, but we also don't want what are called porous boundaries, where some stuff gets in and some stuff doesn't.
Right.
So what I say is you want a flexible boundary. Yes. So you want something that is like, I think of it of like, this is going to be so nerdy. Think of it of like the Newtonian fluid, where like if you hit it really hard, it's a solid, but if you're slow, it's kind of like that in that it's going to keep things out that you want to keep out, but you're allowed to go past your boundary if it's your decision.
Right.
So if you say normally Tuesday is, I don't know why I'm stuck on Tuesday, but if normally Tuesday is the night that is for me and I don't answer the phone after 5 o'clock, let's say your friend from childhood called you and you haven't talked to them in 2 years, you might feel okay to go past that boundary and talk to them. Again, the boundary is about control being in your court, not other people.
Again, you're controlling yourself. You're not trying to control the other person. If you're receiving a boundary from somebody else, they're not really trying to control you. They're just telling you.
Right. They're informing you. And if you care about, this is what I tell people, if people care about you, genuinely, if it's someone, they're going to respect your boundary. They may not understand it. They may not like it.
Right.
And that's fine. That's their First Amendment right. But they have to respect it.
Right. Not things don't get political at family gatherings.
What? Right. I call it a proximal boundary. That's one of the best boundaries you can have. So a boundary that separates you in space and time. So like
fancy with it. I'm just like, I'm leaving this session if you don't shut the fuck up.
Well, but that's technically a proximal boundary because you're creating space and distance that they can't traverse. They can't come out of their cell or their whatever it's called these days. But like, so that's why a lot of times people will like move away from families because then you're not near them.
That's true. I mean, a lot of people do that. I don't do that, but
and so a boundary can really be anything. And I remember I was going to say earlier, you alluded to like professional boundaries, right?
Yeah.
Like we can have boundaries with like work.
Sure.
Or
a lot of the stuff about boundaries that I saw was about the therapeutic relationship and how a therapist draws boundaries with clients.
Absolutely.
And I was like, maybe we could do an episode on that in the future. Because there's a lot of nuance to that, I would say, more than just regular boundaries. But
and again, there's no one size fits all. So I think that's why boundaries can be very difficult, because what you do with, your friend Jessica and what you do with your mom is going to be very different.
Yes. It can be totally different.
And that's fine. So I think it really is a lot of education and therapy of being like, this is what a boundary actually is. Because people be like, well, boundaries are mean. No, not necessarily. Not if it's a true boundary.
Yeah.
Because again, the idea of a boundary is that it's connected to a need.
Yes.
So, and that's why, here's some tea. That's why when people start talking about boundaries at work and they start to be like, oh, but I can't switch my phone off at 5 o'clock because they don't want me to. Well, honey, then that might not be a need that's getting met, and it might be time to find another job.
Or when people are like, I see it more now where it's just like, I just always have my work phone on me, and I'm like, I don't. I'm like, they're not paying me for my time from 5 p.m. to
I barely answer my phone when I'm at work getting paid. So you think I'm going to check it after
right?
work?
I'm like, just send me an email. Yeah, or people are just like, they're like, I don't take vacations, and I don't take, like, I can't stand people who say that.
Yeah, it's, and that's hard. I mean, because you can't just go out and get a new job necessarily, but it's important to understand, what are your needs? Are they getting met? And okay, maybe you can't get a new job. So then where are you going to, obviously this time where you feel like you need to shut your phone off after 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Where are you getting that need met somewhere else?
Right. Yeah.
So this is complicated stuff, Jackie.
I know.
It's so complicated.
I know. We could probably do like 10 episodes on boundaries. Yeah. But we'll end it there for this time, because I have...
And that's our boundary.
Right.
We're ending it there.
We're ending it there. But I do have, I guess it's a this or that, but it's nightmare scenarios. Have you seen this on the social medias lately?
No. If it's not on Instagram Reels, I don't see it.
Well, I posted one of these to my story. It was like a haunted house, but like everybody's asking you to explain why you won't have kids, or like everybody's asking when you'll get married.
Vaguely.
This is sort of like that, but not really. It's just, I decided to take 2 horrible scenarios and say pick which you'd rather be in.
Okay,
and maybe how you would get out of it.
This will be interesting.
This was gross.
Did you make these up, or you found them?
I Googled a few of them, and then I kind of changed some of them to make it a little better. So the first one, this is nightmare scenario. I figured you and I would agree that these are nightmare scenarios. Maybe you won't. getting chosen out of a crowd to do something like, so you're at like the circus and they want you to be like in the show, or like you're at a comedy show and they're like, tell me your name.
Or like a magician.
Right.
Okay.
Or you're in class and the teacher calls on you and you weren't listening. Pick your nightmare scenario. Me, it's getting called on in class. Or, well, I'd rather have that one. Pick the one you'd rather have.
So you want to pick the one you'd rather have?
Yes, I'd rather get called on in class when I wasn't paying attention.
Well, I guess, okay.
I feel like I could bullshit my way out of that.
I have to, so by default, I'd have to pick the first one.
Wow.
Because I'm a nerd, so I would always be listening in class. There'd be no way that that would happen in a billion years.
God.
So sorry.
I would hate to get chosen out of a crowd. That is like my number one nightmare.
I think
I would lose my shit.
I think it depends. Like if it was like the circus and they wanted me to do something, I'd be like, oh God, no. But the others would be fine. I don't care.
Oh my God.
I don't mind being the center of attention if it's a bunch of strangers. That doesn't bug me, oddly enough.
Interesting.
But if I knew everyone there, I'd be like, oh God.
I guess strangers less bothers me too, because I'm
yeah,
just like, I'll
I
never
don't give a fuck
again.
about them. Yeah.
But I'd rather. I could get out of being. I could bullshit my way, like to pretend like I was listening in class. I could. Do that. Okay, next one. Yeah, somebody throws you a surprise party, or everyone talks to you at a party and you don't ever get a break from talking to people.
Those both sound awful.
Yeah,
I hate both of those. I don't like surprises.
I hate surprises too. I think I would honestly rather have a surprise party than to go to a party and everybody talks to me and I never get a break.
Yeah, I think I would. So I'm picking what I'd rather have.
Yes, pick what.
Yeah, I think I would rather have the surprise party because I could do the other one, but I would the next day, maybe the next 2 days, I would be in bed.
No one speaks to me.
No one speak to me. No one look at me.
Blinds drawn.
No one even think of me as a don't even think about anything about me, or I will come unglued.
Yeah. I think the party one would be hard unless it was people that I knew. Like if it was like like I'm talking about party where you don't really know everybody there.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking if I'm like family and friends, like I could do that and be okay for the most part. But I would be like good like the next 2 days, probably week. To be honest, I would be like, don't look at me, don't talk to me.
Right.
I'd call into work.
100%.
But yeah, a surprise party you at least that's a very finite period of time that you're like I
would just be very awkward because it'd probably be like I would be nice, to be like, oh my gosh, it's so great. But then whoever threw it, I would probably be like, you fucking bitch.
Never pick them again.
Like staring daggers at them the whole time.
Oh my God. Okay, here's the next one. Pick the one you would rather have. You are saying goodbye to someone and then you start to walk in the same direction together after you said goodbye, or you wave at the wrong person on the street.
The second one.
Same. I think the waving.
No, wait. The one I'd rather walk the same way.
Oh, I would not.
I'd
be like, I forgot something by, and I'd like run away.
No. Even just thinking about waving at the wrong person right now is making me so like, like as the kid would say, cringe. Like it's so cringe.
Oh my God.
It gives the ick. Like
I can't. I think waving, but I think waving is easier to play off.
Do you think? Are you meaning like as the waver or the person that like
you're waving to the wrong person? Like you think it's somebody that it's not. I feel like you could. I feel like you could play off waving way easier than. If you and if it was me and you, I wouldn't care. But if it was like somebody who I was like acquaintances with and I was like, okay, bye. And like they started walking in the same direction with me, I'd be like,
yeah. Well, see, with that, I usually go like, where are you parked? So I almost always say that.
Yeah.
So,
just to make
but the second one, I guess I was thinking like someone waves at you and you wave back, but you didn't actually know them. Like that is, we can't talk about it. I'm so sorry. We have to move on.
Okay. Okay. That's your boundary. Okay. Here's another one. This one's hard for me. I might have to talk this one out. Okay. So, pick the one you would rather have.
The one I'd rather have. I don't know why I can't keep that in my head.
You meet someone multiple times and you cannot remember their name, or you have to ask someone to repeat what they just said because you didn't hear them or you can't understand them.
Oh my God, I do both of those.
I think I would rather not remember somebody's name than to ask multiple times to repeat yourself.
Yeah, I think so too because
I think you could get away with the name thing.
Yeah, I mean, I just tell people like I'm really bad at names. I'm sorry, like I don't remember. But like the other thing, I mean, I do that too, and it is embarrassing because then sometimes people get mad.
Yeah,
but
it's hard.
I'm old. I can't hear. So.
Yeah, some of it. Well, and if there's
I do it to Edward all the time.
If there's like a language barrier too, it makes it awkward because you're just like, what?
Yes, because sometimes it's not even that I don't understand them. It's that I just can't fucking hear.
Yeah.
So then I feel bad, and they're like, I'm sure then they get, So definitely I would rather forget someone's name. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, well, and I think you could, if you're with somebody else at a party, you could be like, "Oh, it's great to see you again. Bye," and you walk away and be like, "Who the fuck is that?"
Literally what I do.
I've done that before.
Or come up with some scenario and be like, "So when I get a name tag, I write down Kyle. What do you write down?
Yeah. What do you write down like a fun little nickname?
Or do you like shorten it?
Yeah.
They're like, my name's Becky. How do I short it? I'm like, like Bex.
Bex,
Bex,
yeah. Okay, here's another really terrible one. So, pick the one you'd rather have. You clog a toilet at somebody else's house, or someone clogs the toilet at your house.
I would rather have someone clog a toilet at my house. I would feel.
I think I would say the same thing, but just barely.
Just barely. I don't know, because here's like, I've done it. Like, I've clogged a toilet. So
have I.
But so like, it's fine. Like, everyone does it, right? Like, it happens. You know,
yeah.
It's not always because
you
had a giant poo. Sometimes it just happens.
Yeah. Sometimes.
So I would be like, it's fine. Like, if
just,
you want to plunge it, go for it. But like, me doing it, like, if I came over here and plunge, I would be like, Groot was in there and Groot did it. It wasn't me.
I don't know. It was just like that.
It was just like that. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. That just seems so
like a public
awful.
bathroom. You walk in, and you're like, somebody just left this in here.
Right.
Like, I couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
Yeah. I think I would rather have somebody clog it at my house, to be honest. I don't know. That just seems less.
Yeah.
It's less embarrassing, I guess, for me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree. It doesn't make sense logically, because it's like, well, if you don't care if someone does it in your home, then no one should care if you do it in their home.
Yeah.
But that just, I don't know. That's you never know.
Yeah.
Some people could feel very strongly about that.
Yeah.
I don't.
Let us know, I guess.
Let us know. In the comments. How do you feel about people blowing up your bathroom and
do you like it?
Plugging the toilet? Yeah. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Is it fun?
You put a poll in our stories the day that this comes out. See what people say.
People are gonna be like, "What the fuck? You haven't been on this Instagram for 8 months, and now you're asking us about." Bathrooms.
I guess if you're efficient, you could unclog it before people will realize it if you're at somebody else's house. But then you're planning into a system of like, do they have a plunger? Like, do you like?
Oh, that's true.
Like, that's the thing. Like, and then you're panic, because people panic at that point. Like, you're not gonna think. I don't know. Like, yeah, it's the panic for me is why I'm not choosing it, because the panic would be like, I couldn't.
Yeah. Well, now I'm thinking like in our master bathroom at home we have a plunger, but in the guest bathroom there isn't one. So maybe I should.
The only plunger in our home is in our upstairs guest bathroom.
Okay.
So
well, I will only be using the upstairs bathroom for anytime I'm here.
Okay. Last one. This one I feel like is someday probably won't be a thing because of all the contactless payment, but we'll see.
Oh.
So pick the one you'd rather have. Your card declining or forgetting all of your cards at home?
Which would I rather have?
Someday when they all just prick our fingers for our blood, because that's what I'm convinced will happen someday.
I think I guess I would rather my card get declined, because then I could just
use a different
I'll just use a different one, because it would be embarrassing because I am generally good with money, so I don't know why that would happen. But I think forgetting on my cards, especially at the grocery store, like you have a card of groceries and what you're supposed to do. And
I think I would rather have a card decline, only because I feel like if you're forgetting all of your cards, then what do you do? I mean, like what do you do in that situation nowadays?
Right.
Like, they don't put you to work in the back. I highly doubt it. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, what do you do? I guess you tell them I'll come back. Like, give
them collateral or something.
Yeah, like give them your phone, I guess, and run back home and get your shit.
Well, I always grab my wallet and stuff, but now I have my little Apple Watch that has my payment stuff on it. So even if I did forget my wallet, I could pay for stuff. But
someday you and I are going to be in the nursing home together, and some little child's going to come and be like, "What's a credit card? What's like?" Because everything's going to be contactless. I'm telling you, one day everything's going to be either fingerprint, eye scan, or blood.
Of course.
And we'll have no money. We'll have no physical thing. It's just going to be. I'm telling you.
Well, sure. Well, they're already doing like implants in the skin for this, like putting the chips in there. So. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's fine.
We should do an episode on that someday. That'd be really funny. All the conspiracy theories that we.
Well, and we'll be like, back in our day, there was Instagram and we watched reels, and they'd be like, "Sure,
What's
Grandpa." Yeah, sure, Grandpa.
God. Oh my God. Anyways, that's the nightmare scenario.
Wow, interesting.
I did not make it Thanksgiving themed, but I thought it would be more fun
if
we debated.
Was worse. Thanksgiving itself is probably a nightmare for most people. Yeah, so there you go. It is. That's what that is. So yeah. Well, hopefully everybody feels empowered about their boundaries now.
Yes.
If you need particular help, you're always welcome to write in. We can give you some pointers.
Sure. You can remain anonymous if you tell us you'd like to remain anonymous.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to read your name.
Or we can put you on blast. It's fine. We, as you now know, are serious.
Yes, we are serious.
That was the boundary. We said if you write in, we will put you on blast.
Yes,
so
we will.
Here you are.
Yes, we will. So,
all right.
Well, everybody have a happy little holiday.
Happy little holiday. Happy little Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Whatever you do, however you celebrate.
Yeah, sure.
We love that.
Yeah, we support being grateful and blessed.
Sure.
Not the rest of the connotations of things.
Not the rest of it. Nothing else.
We won't talk about it.
Right.
So,
yeah.
All right. Well, everybody, stay tired.
And petty.